having a good composition in your scene is very important, but composition can feel very overwhelming. So today we're going to talk about composition, and I have some very basic principles that I'm going to share with you that can make a big difference in your paintings. Composition can seem like this large, abstract idea that can feel very overwhelming. I'm going to talk about something very simple that can make a big difference in your paintings. I have 3 simple steps that can help you when you're composing your paintings. So let's get into these simple steps. First, you want to ask yourself, what is most important in my scene? Is it most important that the ground is featured in my scene or that the sky is featured? And after you ask yourself that question, you want to compose your horizon line. The horizon line is simply where the ground stops and the sky begins. So we want to determine, do we want a lower horizon line or a higher horizon line? What we don't want to do is split our painting right down the middle and have the horizon in the middle of our scene. This is a pretty universal rule that applies to landscapes, street scenes, whatever you're trying to paint. Don't put your horizon right in the middle of your scene. Do you want to favor the top third or the bottom third? Now, your horizon line doesn't have to be exactly on one of those thirds, but more leaning towards one of those thirds. So as long as you're not splitting the painting in equal halves, you're okay. So put that horizon line a little towards the bottom or a little towards the top. After you've determined where your horizon line is, you want to think about, what are the important elements of the scene? Do I have figures in this scene? Is there a tree that's more prominent in this landscape scene than anything else? Are there some livestock or some type of life that's in this scene? Generally, our eyes are attracted to the signs of life in the scene, like we've talked about in another video on creating feeling or emotion in your painting. When you understand what the most important elements of your scene are, you want to place these elements on one of the thirds in your painting. And this is the most important part of this video and the basics of composition, is learning to divide your paper into thirds.
Tick, 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 tack-toe.
If you've ever played tic-tac-toe before, that's what we're creating over the top of our painting. So we want to place 2 vertical lines within our painting a third of the way apart from each other. And then we want to split our painting into 3 equal sections horizontally by placing 2 horizontal lines over our scene. And you can even lightly draw these lines on your paper when you're creating your composition. That can be very helpful. And so where these lines intersect is where you want to put the most interest in your scene. Think about this. If you have a taller building in your scene, it can go over on this upper left third. Maybe there's a car in your scene that can favor this bottom right third. Think about this rule of thirds whenever you're composing your painting. When deciding where to place the major elements of your scene, using this rule of thirds is a way to help you create a more interesting composition. Here are 3 things to keep in mind as you're organizing your painting. Much like the horizon line, we don't want to create a composition that splits our painting in equal halves. The second thing is, we want to avoid equal spacing of objects. If you have a series of trees that are evenly spaced in your scene, it's going to take the viewer out of your scene right away. It does not make for a good composition. In a previous video, I talked about avoiding patterns in your painting. We don't want every brush mark to look the same. We don't want to create things that are of the same size, equally spread apart. Our brain naturally wants to organize and create patterns, but that does not help us make a good composition or a good painting. So variety is key. Remember that. Vary the size of things, vary the distance of things in your painting. And lastly, we want to avoid placing important objects right in the center of our painting. Now, these are basic rules of composition, but also if you want to break some of these rules, experiment. Learn things for yourself. If you want to put something right in the center of your painting, give it a try. But these are some simple guidelines that can hopefully get you moving in the right direction when it comes to your composition. Okay, so let's recap this really quick. First, you want to determine, is the main area of interest in the land or in the sky? You want to place your horizon line accordingly. Then, you want to use the rule of thirds across your scene to put areas of interest where these lines intersect with each other. Using these guidelines, you can create a more captivating, more natural scene in your next painting. Watercolor is not a very forgiving medium. It's hard to correct. Having a plan as we go into our painting is crucial. So that's why I made this free video lesson, 7 Secrets to Fresh, Powerful Paintings. Many students have already watched this video lesson and are seeing great results, and I know that it can help you out as well. All you have to do is follow the link down below in the description and learn how to paint more fresh and powerful watercolor paintings. Please let me know in a comment below, what are some things that you would like to see in a tutorial? Is there anything that you're struggling with that you would like me to make a video about? I would love to hear from you. Please leave that in a comment below. So thank you once again for spending some time with me this week. I hope that you are growing and learning as an artist. Keep moving forward and keep practicing, and I will see you next week.